Alrighty guys, so welcome back. This is part 2 of the Speeduino tuning tutorial. From the last part, I hope you guys watched the last part. I'll go ahead and link it in the top corner, one of these corners, and down in the description. Make sure you watch that before you move on to this one. So in the last one, we covered creating a base map, and we also got the car to start and idle. So today I'm just going to go ahead and do some slight idle tuning just to get everything dialed a bit more, well, more precise. And we're going to do a little cruising and maybe touch wide open throttle today. Right, so stay tuned. Right, so before we start, it's gonna go ahead and switch off now. For the most part, we did idle, and we can see what's the temperature here. Turn on again. So we have about 55 degrees Celsius. So it's not exactly a cold start. The engine is pretty warm now, but it'll give us a chance to look at our warm-up enrichments from the last time. And also, we're just going to make sure idle is still good. Maybe off a little bit since it was the first time we did it. So what we're going to do now is to just go in there. We're going to attempt to start up, verify idle, and do a little bit of cruising around. We'll be using, for today, we'll be using Autotune. There are various methods to trim your fuel. You can use Autotune. It's basically this, close this up here, tune for you. So basically what it'll be doing here is essentially just referencing your fuel ratio target tables like we have here. Oh, I forgot, off camera I changed this to lambda, so you can see I'm aiming for lambda 1. Lambda 1 is a superior way of looking at fuel ratios, in my opinion anyways. Lambda 1 is the equivalent of 14.7 fuel ratios on a gas scale for your wideband. So for the most part around here, we're just aiming for lambda 1, so around 14.7 to 1 fuel ratio to make it easy for this tutorial. So this is what Autotune will be referencing. So pretty much all here it will be aiming for a 14.7 fuel ratio or lambda 1. Lambda is superior in that it's easy to recognize the difference. So if your target is lambda 1 and say Tuner Studio is telling you that your actual fuel ratio is lambda 0.90, so that's essentially telling you that you're off by 10%. So it makes it easy to just go in and add 10% to whatever cell or whatever section you're trying to adjust. So we're going to go into that a bit more today. So we'll be using Autotune to pretty much do cruising. Cruising is essentially about up till about here. This area is, this area here, you don't really drive into here unless you, I guess, just rev in and then deceleration, you'll be going into this section. So this section is not too important. We'll just throw some numbers in there so that it remains within range, but we'll not try to go in here. So for the most part, we just targeting about here for today. Anything above there is about wide open throttle. So we're trying to not do that for today. We're just concentrating on cruising. Another thing we may need to adjust after we're done with the cruising, my spark map. It's a bit conservative based on what I know these motors like. So it's probably off about 5 or 8 degrees, give or take, in this section. But we're going to leave this be for now. And then after we're done with the fuel, the initial cruising fuel adjustments, then we're going to go back in and adjust the timing a bit. And then it may throw... Yeah, just trying to put up the windows now. It may throw off the fuel ratios a bit, maybe about 2 times, 3 times, give or take, around that area, and we just need to revisit that. It's not anything to worry about. So for now, the advanced settings, what I usually just go in here, this is already preset for what I use. I have Autotune only working above 900 RPM and above 71 degrees, which is where my car is fully warmed up. And I left these as default to start off with. I usually start with easy. So what I'll do is just allow it to adjust my fuel tables pretty easily since the map is pretty raw now, and then as I get closer to my targets, I'll just go switch from easy and go into normal, and then when it's super close, I'll just go into hard, and then at that point I'll probably be doing manual adjustments as well. So we're going to start off by just starting up the car, and we'll see what the fuel ratios look like. Okay, a bit of a long crank. Okay, so what I suspect happened is that should have been data logging that started up here, and it stayed in that rich spot a bit, so it took a while. It almost felt like it wanted to die till it got down here in our idle section where we've already cruised. So maybe just a blip of the throttle will have fixed that, but it happened already. So we can see our fuel ratios are looking pretty good. May need a little touch up in the warm-up enrichment. We're going to allow it to warm up, and then we'll pick up with some progress. So we can see that the fuel ratios are a bit leaner than our target. So what we'll have to do before we switch off the next time, we'll just have to go into the warm-up enrichment. You can do this now. Just go here and just add 5 clicks, which would be the equivalent of 5%. It's idling a bit better. Again, it's something you need to revisit over a few days just to get it proper. The idle portion may need some adjustment here, but again, we don't want to do any huge changes just yet. It's within range, so we'll just let it be for now till it warms up. Okay, so my warm-up enrichment is about to turn off. It turns off. Let's go here. We have a coolant temp of 70 degrees. So my warm-up enrichment will go off in about 2 degrees time. So I simply go in here, and then what I'll simply do, I'll start Autotune. So Autotune will be making changes based on my fuel ratio tables. So the areas you see here highlighted, I simply went in there and I locked them. So simply go in here, right click, and you hit lock cells. I don't want Autotune adjusting my idle, I do that manually. And my deceleration, since deceleration is always very lean, sorry, Autotune would essentially try to add fuel to that. So I would just want that done manually. So right now I have Autotune ready to work. So what I can simply do, this is an automatic. I'm going to put my car in drive. What I'm also going to do is that I'm just going to hold on the foot brake and pretty much just give it some gas. Take it up to the cells. So you can see the cells are going red, which means Autotune is essentially removing fuel. You can see we have an fuel ratio of 11.0, give or take, and our target is 14.7 or lambda 1. So we can see Autotune just went ahead and adjusted those cells. So essentially, we'd probably need to be somewhere in the 40s here. So I can just go in here globally, since I already know what I think this motor will want. Go in here. I'm just going to remove 15% just to get it closer to my target. Oh, sorry. 8.5. Right. This section here. Just gonna go in here and remove 10%. Right? Let's try this again, see how far off it is. Right, gonna stop Autotune. So you can see the numbers are pretty close, probably off about a 10% give or take. So what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna take it for a short drive, and I'm just gonna allow Autotune to do its thing, and then I'll stop along the way, adjust the tables manually to help speed up the process, because driving like that with Autotune will take forever. So I have a couple tricks that I do just to speed up the process. Alrighty, so took a drive down the road, Autotune is still off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn Autotune on and go for a quick drive. Alrighty, so Autotune has went ahead and done its thing. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and just look at the changes Autotune made. Gonna go into here, look at my VE table. Alright, so we can see the changes, you can see the general trend Autotune wants to take. So I'm gonna go into here. My mouse will cooperate. I'm gonna go into here. I'm gonna move 10%. So, right, I'm gonna go into here and remove 5%. Here, another 5%. And these are all just based on the numbers Autotune gave me. I was peeking at the laptop a bit and I saw the general trend. So here, I'm gonna go in here and move 15%. Not enough. We're gonna go in here and we're gonna move 10%. Alright, it's gonna go in here, a couple clicks. Okay, we're gonna go into here and just interpolate. Then we're gonna highlight this entire section and just interpolate. Right, what I'm gonna do now is to go into the 3D view and pretty much just try and massage it a bit. Basically, the map should look very smooth, very smooth. Since it's just a stock motor, stock cam, stock everything. So I'm gonna go into here again, generally, and just smooth out everything. Couple clicks here, couple clicks here. This entire section is just an educated guess based on the trends I was seeing. But again, like I said, this corner doesn't really matter since it's the section of the map which we don't actually get to drive in much. Right, again, just look at it in 3D view. It's looking a lot smoother. Gonna go into here, a couple clicks there, a couple clicks there. Since the numbers should generally just be steadily increasing. So for the most part, I'm gonna burn this. Engine sort of stumbles a bit after we burn it. Going to verify FL ratios. The FL ratios are still good around idle. Sorry. So again, we're just going to go ahead and turn on Autotune once more. And we're going to go ahead and save this. So we can see the actual changes being made. And we'll just go ahead and look at Autotune do its thing. I think down here we might need to pull out a little bit. Pull out 10% here. Right? And we're generally going to go in there and let Autotune do its thing. should be pretty close at this point. So again, we're gonna go back in here, gonna start Autotune, and we're going to let it do its thing. Okay, so we can see Autotune barely made any changes, which tells me that the changes I made are pretty close. At this point, I can go in here and nitpick again. Again, you'd probably get to this point with a bit of experience to just get a general idea of how the numbers should slope. As you can see here, numbers are steadily increasing. This corner might be a bit rich, but again, doesn't really matter since we hardly go in there. So we can go in and nitpick and remove a couple numbers here or there. But for the most part, we have cruising pretty good. At that point, what I would also go in here, just go up, turn this up to normal. I'll probably data log, which I'll show in a separate video, just to get it down to however I want. I mean precise, as in if I target a 14.5, I want to see a 14.5, maybe a 14.6 or 14.4. But generally, I want to see my numbers remaining close. It almost never remains on target because that's generally how widebands work. They never remain on target. You never see a consistent 14.7 without any movement across the board. So again, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to continue doing Autotune. Just going to have Autotune do the majority of the heavy work for me. Then I go in and do some heavy lifting myself. And then afterwards, just have Autotune go over it. And then finally, I would just do a data log just to view what I've already, just to confirm what I'm actually seeing on my gauge. So you can see, if you're looking in the corner here, you'll see my target ratios were matching my actual fuel ratios. So that's essentially what I'm going to do. Like I said, also you will need to do the spark. You need to, with the cruise area, you may need to add some more spark advance, which you can do on your own time. Experiment to see what works. I know what works for this motor. So for the most part, again, just gonna go into here. I can tell that the trends here, this would probably need to be a bit lower. Maybe something like that. And then we can go ahead, probably remove a click here. And then would be left with something like that. So we can just go ahead, I'll continue driving up, and that is essentially what we do for cruising. Now, if you're on a dyno, you'd not be needing to drive, you'd just be going on the dyno, sitting on the dyno, and then I would, well, whoever the dyno operator is would just be locking the RPM. So for instance, you lock it at 2000 RPMs and you'll just be modulating the throttle so we can move between these cells. Again, we're on the road, so I'm doing the best with what I have now. So we're just going to continue driving up and we'll wrap up when we get to the house. Alrighty, so we're back. We can just see generally Autotune, we're trying to operate in this range. So you can see here, didn't make much changes, just one or two spots. It added one number here, one number here. So we're within our target. You can see here, we went into this section here. Didn't pay much attention to this when I was doing my initial trimming, but can see it changed by about 3 numbers here, so it was pretty close. It was probably target. I wasn't actually looking at the screen, so it was probably in the low 14s or maybe a lambda 0.97, and it brought it up. So essentially just hacking away at it, and we get to this section where we are now. Okay, so looking at this, we can pretty much say we can cruise around pretty good at around 14.7. or Lambda 1. We can go in here and nitpick again, like I said, using data logs or just having someone else drive and look at the laptop. Uh, Again, I did it with and without the Autotune. Autotune did a bit of the heavy lifting, but it could have just as easily been done without Autotune. Just go in and globally start trimming fuel away, take out 5%, look at it, CI 5%, or data log and look at the difference in the lambda and then just remove that. You can do it either way. I usually do it this way because it's a bit easier and happens quicker. If I let Autotune do some of the heavy lifting for me, and then I go in and I just manually just look at the map and just trim away at it, and then nitpick and trim and trim and trim until we get to an acceptable target. So at this point here, we can see where this cell wants to go, well, this row. So we're gonna go in here and start off with something like 50 here, and this will probably end up in something like, I'd say maybe 60. Oh, okay, 60. What I can generally do is to go in here and just interpolate. Looks a bit clean. So I'm gonna add maybe 3%. Alright, so again, went in here and then just basically building up the map slowly. This will probably go up into the mid 60s, high 70s there, about wide open throttle. Will also a bit more since the airflow will be a lot greater with the throttle wide open. So we're just gonna leave it at that for now. So this is essentially just doing the rough and dirty part of the cruising. Again, like I said, can happen a lot quicker if you're on a dyno when you can actually use the load bearing on the dyno to actually get you in the RPM you need to be and hold it there, and you'll just modulate the throttle to get access to whichever cell that you need to. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up for now. Again, hope you guys watched the first video in this series, and this one is just to complement it, and we'll probably have one or two after that, maybe more. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So this is in no way going to cover every single step of tuning a car, but I'll just show you the majority of it. Pretty much just need that to get you running. You can go in there and nitpick and then do some advanced tuning to get everything dialed in. So again, this may help someone out there. Someone may be struggling with that. If not, you can always pay someone to do the tuning for you, but this is just the practical aspect and the theory behind the practical. Alrighty guys, so before we leave, let's just go ahead and look at the map in the 3D view. Right, so we can see a couple of bumps here and there. You can just go in here and just flatten it out. Again, like I said, we're just trying to make the map as flat as possible. I'm gonna go in here, just try and flatten it. Shouldn't be that much change in airflow here to warrant the waviness. Again, you can go in here and just iron it out cell by cell, but generally you don't need to, since airflow won't be changing that much. Gonna go ahead and pull 3%. And it will end up with something like that. So again, gonna catch you guys in the next one. We'll pick up with some more cruising, and we're gonna actually do the wide open throttle next time around. But this map is getting pretty dialed, so gonna wrap it up and call it quits for today. Catch you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe.